Let's give a moment for the others to arrive. And the reflection we'll do is on universal well-being, if you want to get that up on your device of some kind or on a piece of paper. And we'll start with the offering and recollection. So let us dedicate, our practice, make our intention clear, really come into the realm of the Buddha Dhamma here, the sense of really recognizing, holding up and bowing to their awakening heart. And the Buddha as the supreme example of that. Yeah. To the Blessed One, the Lord, who fully attained perfect enlightenment, to the teaching which he expounded so well, and to the Blessed One's disciples, who have practiced well, to these the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha, we render with offerings our rightful homage. It is well for us that the Blessed One, having attained liberation, still had compassion for later generations. May these simple offerings be accepted for our long-lasting benefit and for the happiness it gives us. The Lord, the perfectly enlightened and blessed One, I render homage to the Buddha, the Blessed One. The teaching so completely explained by him, I bow to the Dhamma. The Blessed One's disciples, who have practiced well, I bow to the Sangha. Now let us pay our preliminary homage to the Buddha, homage to the Blessed, Noble, and perfectly enlightened One, homage to the Blessed, Noble, and perfectly enlightened One, homage to the Blessed, Noble and perfectly enlightened One. Now let us chant the reflections on universal well-being. May I abide in well-being, in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may I maintain well-being in myself. May everyone abide in well-being, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may they maintain well-being in themselves. May all beings be released from all suffering, and may they not be parted from the good fortune they have attained. When they act upon intention, all beings are the owners of their action and inherit its results. Their future is born from such action, companion to such action, and its results will be their home. All actions with intention, be they skillful or harmful, of such acts, they will be the end. We can let the reverberations of these intentions, these aspirations, these ways of holding the world really vibrate through our experience of body and mind. Yeah. A sense of gratitude that to the Buddha, that the teachings were given out of compassion. As we recollect in that chanting, as we make the offerings, that we can take this in different ways, but you know what? One of the ways that can be really helpful is to really take them in as something given for each of our well-being. Really to receive this, and to let that teaching, that Dhamma, the Dhamma, really resonate and support our understanding of our own life and our own awareness. It's not that, the Buddha asked us to believe it. The encouragement was to know for yourself. And it's not like if the Buddha was here, which might be wonderful, he could bang me on the head with a stick and I would understand. He was really clear when people would come and say, oh Lord, just give me a tap on the head. That it didn't work like that. So here we are having to do this inquiry right here. nowhere else, not delayed in time, just here. And how not to have that lonely. Yeah. So to really feel our connection with the refuges, with the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the community of practitioners, And we can feel that Sangha as our own movement to know the Dhamma, And then we see it all around us in a space like this, But there are other beings making this commitment, and across time and space. So we're in this great flow of beings. A bit like in this kind of style of teaching with Ajahn Sucitto and I, we're saying, well, it's a bit like we keep passing the baton of the reflections between each other, And to really see yourself as having received this baton of awakening. And we do the work here and we pass it on. It's not personal. It's about our belonging in the flow of things, And I can see a few faces on the screen, and I know that those I can see and know are incredibly generous in supporting others in their process of inquiry and practice. So this is what we can do, isn't it? I can do it here, you do it there. We do it with those for whom it's helpful, and we do it here. And we keep heart with the practice. And in this process, we have to be really upright in it, don't we? We have to really know what the taste of the Dhamma is, so we don't get confused. So we can orientate to the fact that it was given out of compassion, and I find it really clarifying, in my own practice. And one of the other things we can really orientate to is this, gem that is in one of the suttas in Guttara 8. I think it's 19. So the collection of that name, and it's when one of the beings comes to the Buddha and they have a conversation about how the Dhamma and the ocean, the great ocean, share similarities. And one of the most recognizable parts of this, and you'll have heard it many times already, is just as the great ocean has one taste of salt, so the taste of the Dhamma has a taste of freedom. And this is really, really important to keep as a reference, because of how our minds have been trained, so that we really know if we pick things up as an intellectual exercise. The classic one to me is we pick up this teaching on anicca, the movement of things, change, uncertainty, and if we pick it up as a mental concept, it brings incredible agitation into the heart. If we pick it up in terms of the Dhamma as an embodied realization, it brings this incredible taste of freedom. So the work is always to be checking. Is this supporting the waking up of this being? And if it is Dhamma, it will. If it's of some other nature, it may not. So as we sit, just checking, as you as you engage with the teaching, engage with the practice. Yeah. What's going on? And it's not that everything has to be happy and pleasant, yeah? We know it's not like that. You know, one of the qualities of practice is actually the ability to be patient and steady, because things can be difficult. But that patience has compassion in it, yeah? It has a very, very different quality than, you know, some kind of harsh enduring. Yeah? So we keep checking these cultivations. Have they got the compassion of the Buddha in them? And as you know, some things that happen, they're very hard to bear with. But the teaching gives us a way of doing that. That isn't about closing down or just hardening up. One of the really wonderful things about this concept of refuge is the sense that there is always shelter, yeah? From the conditioned realm. The Dhamma is our shelter. Yeah? So how is it a shelter? Yeah? What does it mean to be able to take shelter in the Dhamma? And for me, it means that actually I can stop running, I can be here. Yeah. So whatever is happening, I know the way of meeting it. Yeah. That I meet it with these heart qualities, to whatever capacity I have. Yeah. So we really, it's not that things don't happen, but we have a way of coming into relationship with them, right relationship with them, relationship that yields, you know, the freeing up of the heart. And things happen, don't they? Oh, you feel that, you know, oh. And then to ground, steady, come into the connection with breath, connection with the Dhamma, have these medicines to soothe the trembling chitta, yeah. And to be able to process whatever has happened in terms of impact on the chitta. And then to be able to, from that steadiness and calmness, actually understand what happened. Yeah. So we're starting to understand how we get caught, how does stress arise. We're getting insight into these four noble truths, you know, causes of dukkha. Yeah. So you know, it's not that everything has to go along on a kind of permanent high. It's that we have this way of being with it, whatever it is. So the more confidence we have in that, the less we start asking the world to be one way or another. Yeah. As in this chant we've just done, you know, we realise things are born out of conditions, yeah? This is the reflections on equanimity. And in my way of understanding it, and as I've been saying earlier in the retreat, it's this understanding in this moment, it could not be different. I'm sitting in what they call a vipaka karma, the resultant karma of what has gone before. And there's learning in that, yeah. And then I have this complete freedom in response. So if I really stay on the edge of the present moment, yeah, the only place it is, There is tremendous freedom in that. So, and the Buddha pointed to this in different ways. And it's to take these teachings, the often very commonly referred to parts of the Dhamma teachings that were given to us as encouragement. Yeah, so we keep heart with the practice. And in this kind of realm of encouragement, encouraging verses from the Dhamma. Yeah, there's one I know some of you have pinned on your fridges, yeah? And that's the sutra on the root of things, yeah? The Mula Sutta. Another verse from the Anguttara, and it's in the tens. Yeah, it's a verse, and I think most of you will have heard it, and I won't go through the whole thing, but the sense of where things arise from, yeah, rooted in desire, friends are all things, and it's this process, yeah, born of attention are all things, yeah. So where are we placing the mind? Yeah, things arising from where attention arises. So on that contact, things come into being, yeah, and they converge on feeling, yeah, which really is what the chitta really knows about, yeah, feeling, Vedana. And then there's this kind of shift, yeah, so phenomena have arisen, and there's then a sense of being headed or governed by samadhi, by the collectedness of the mind. Yeah? So there's a sense that things have arisen, but now there's a sense of actually starting to come into wise relationship with them. Yeah. And then mindfulness is established. Yeah. So you get governed by mindfulness, dominated by mindfulness. Different people translate this slightly differently, of course, but it's the sense of the place of the gathering of attention and then mindfulness, yeah? And everything starts shifting. Surmounted by wisdom, or wisdom as their supervisor. Yeah? So the understanding of the Four Noble Truths. And then we get liberation as their core. Culminate in the deathless. Yield deliverance or essence, terminating in Nibbana. So you get this kind of process. You know? All things are terminating in Nibbana. All things have deliverance as their essence. Wow, is that how we experience it? And why these teachings are so helpful to bear in mind is they stop us being afraid of conditions and phenomena. Yeah. Because they say, if the mind can steady, you know, come into the steadiness, samadhi, can kind of steady, and mindfulness can be established, like we can actually start waking up to what is happening, then this whole process starts to happen. Yeah? Where you realize anything you touch is filled with the teaching. Anything we touch with clarity, with the clarity of the Four Noble Truths, delivers liberation as its essence. And so as I sit here, as I walk there, as I do this, as I do that, if I can keep aligned with this, yeah, upright in this understanding, all kinds of fear drops away. Because I know if I can come into the body, yeah, ground, feel myself fully here, establish mindfulness, whatever quaking, shaking is going on in this chitta can be met. Yeah. And in my experience, particularly with more, call them intense experiences, the more clearly I do that, I get tremendous insight into the nature of things. How things come together, how the mind creates suffering, what it's trying to lean on and grasp so it doesn't have to be with the changing nature of things. Yeah. Yeah. You can start to see the kind of what's described as a conjuring trick of consciousness, this leaning out that brings a sense of that there, me here. Yeah. This delusion of consciousness, the way consciousness works. And it makes it feel so real rather than a construct of a particular mechanism. So conjuring trick, as the Buddha described it, magician's trick, that suddenly from some kind of visual contact, the sense of me arises, yeah, a subject. You know, wow. When I understand that as a dynamic, yeah, not a reality, things start to lighten up, don't they? And then it becomes, well, if the mind is still going to lean on things and then take its sense of itself from what it's leaning on, let it lean on what is helpful. Let it establish mindfulness. Let it lean on, if we can call leaning on love, yeah, leaning on compassion, leaning on goodness. So that the sense of somebody that arises based on those is not so afflicted. Yeah? And because if the heart and mind get too afflicted, as you know, it's really hard to establish mindfulness and clarity, isn't it? Yeah? So to support our practice, we try and make the inevitability of this kind of ignorance, this arising, based on what is wholesome, until we've really untangled it. Yeah. And we don't always have a choice because things happen. But then we take heart, we know, so headed by concentration or the collected mind are all things, governed by mindfulness. Yeah. To really trust this, that even though something in us, particularly if things make us shake, wants to just run and absorb into anything else, yeah, the agitation. We know that if we can even be present for a moment, things start to settle down. And then we're not on the run. The sense of who I'm not is not running in agitation. Because this whole kind of conjuring trick of consciousness brings with it an inherent distress. Yeah? Because the distress is in the mistake of that, there's me here isolated from that there. There's me here as some kind of fixed thing in the universe. And in that, there's tremendous vulnerability, isn't there? Vulnerability, aloneness, yeah. A loss of connection and belonging. So that's why these medicines of the Brahma Vihara become so essential, because they re-establish us, they upright us in kindness, friendliness, compassion, a sense of our own and others' goodness, in this capacity to bear with and recognize cause and result for what it is. Yeah. So that the heart can get more even and we get less, what do I call it? We get less ill will really for what is present here. You know, the folks next door making a noise, they belong. Yeah. The guinea fowl you probably see running past the window every so often, it belongs. The ants that seem to be going straight for the new internet connection, they belong. Yeah. Yeah. It may be they need a little shepherding, yeah. But we're coming out of contention with everything in that moment. And then, yeah, right response. So I'm here, I'm not contending, I recognize what's happening, and I do what is suitable. In the case of the ants and the connections, you know, put a bit of neem oil around. So it's not that we don't act, it's that we're acting from a place that hasn't got hostility in it. And it's so important, isn't it? Because we can project hostility out or fear out, but the most place that gets most impacted is the chitta itself. And having incarnated into this form with this consciousness, we have a responsibility to take care of it. Yeah. It's one of the all things, yeah. And sometimes these all things are seen as the khandhas. Sometimes they're just seen as dhammas or phenomena. But whichever way you pick this teaching up, it's not about something other than ourselves. This tremendous sense that everything is yielding deliverance as essence. So it's really to take that in, to take these Dhamma reflections we've been given in, you know, to keep our hearts steady with this process. We have the capacity to be here. And we know it's here that the Four Noble Truths are. Yeah. Suffering and the end of suffering and the path. And under those, everything else in practice sits. Yeah, feeling yourself, letting yourself really be nourished and drink in these teachings that are really reminding us, telling us that there is something that is not just a contracted, agitated mind, that the nature of the chitta is very different. So allowing this. Yeah. It is easy to get discouraged, isn't it? You know, over a time of practice, because it does take the bringing forth of energy. But to, you know, we keep heart with the fact that this is possible. It is possible. So that even if the heart isn't fully awakened, we can have real understanding of the nature of things, so that as events happen in the world around us and within us, we have real understanding and resources to meet it. And there's the qualities of nibbana, of the heart that's fully released out of selfishness. One of the beautiful qualities, it's unshakable, sorrowless, dustless, unshakable. Okay, it is worth cultivating so that this can become a manifest reality. Heart that doesn't tremble, but is fully available. Some of us have had the fortune to meet beings who have really awakened and come out of all contraction. And they're real blessings on the planet. So to me, it seems to whatever extent we can do this, to whatever extent we can free the heart out of harmfulness into harmlessness, may it be done. As part of it, what it means to be in connection with the world. So practice is an act of love. Maybe enough.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Much gratitude, sister, for your wisdom and for your love. Anumodame.
Thank you. Yeah, so let us come into sitting together, really feeling this field we're sitting in. We are in a connected field. So let us bring this part of the retreat, the section of this evening, to a close, chanting the sharing of blessings. Yeah. And as it's chanted, as you chant it, as I chant it, really feel it. Yeah. Mother, Father, who give us life. Yeah. Virtuous leaders of the world. These recollections and the sense of people, you know, who like us, don't like us, are indifferent. Yeah. This indiscriminate, uncramped giving of whatever goodness has been cultivated. Yeah. So, chanting together. Now let us chant the verses of sharing and aspiration. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, and through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease, and all harmful states of mind, until I realize Nirvana in every kind of birth. May I have an upright mind, with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble guide. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled.
Blessed One. I render homage to the Buddha, the Blessed One. The teaching so completely explained by him, I bow to the Dhamma. The Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, I bow to the Sangha.